Aloha from the big island of Hawaii here in Hilo, my humble abode. This is my house here for 30 years. My name is Ragged Jew Frame with the American Shopping Party. And what is the American Shopping Party? The 5 functions that it serves. Number 1, self-sustainability. We all recognize the urgency for building out an immediate food security and infrastructure to take care of ourselves as we see the supply chains all around us beginning to tighten up and fray. Number 2, to find our common cause. We've all found our mastery of hate for one another as Americans. Unless we introduce some small amount of recognition to our common cause and celebration of one another, we have no choice but civil war. So never has it been more urgent than it is today, one day a month to celebrate the best of ourselves. Number 3, a lobbyist for small business, farmers, and Hawaiians. Or for the rest of the country, it would be the indigenous and minorities. Number 4 is, and this is where history is being made, we are formalizing ourselves as consumers, called the Consumers Movement of America. We say that the consumer is the labor movement of the 21st century people. And number 5, providing a new context, a much broader and expansive, really just sort of stepping into the power that Hawaii has to offer. Food is the new oil, and Hawaii is the Saudi Arabia of food. So those are the 5. So let's cover these quickly. Self-sustainability. We have focused this around a one-day-a-month event. It's a buy local movement scaled nationally. Here in Hawaii, we're hoping to get 15% is the template. So that would be 300,000 people joining us here in Hawaii, 300,000 committed buyers there for our small businesses each and every month. If California joined us, that would be 6 million of their 45 million that they have there. And nationally, if we rolled this out across the country, 15%, 1.5, would be 50 million Americans dedicated to buying American local made. And of course, 50 million shoppers, every store is going to carry something that's American or locally made. This is to serve as an umbrella to the millions of other buy local, buy American groups, organizations, and events. So one day we can consolidate that and really highlight the best of those. Number 2, a day of common cause. So our tagline originally was the happiest place in politics. I think that once we start recognizing the genius and talents that we have, that this will provide a neutral and grand place to begin. The one place left in politics that seems unscathed by controversy and betrayal is artisans, craftsmen, entrepreneurs, farmers, and in most cases, small business. So let's start with them. They are the treasures of our communities, and they are the inspiration to the best of our talents. So that's a great place to come together that one day a month to start our common cause, finding our common cause. They are the new movie stars. Number 3, lobbyists. So the 4 things that we want to provide committed buyers one day a month. Number 2, commercial access. In the case of Hawaii, that would be to the tourists. There's 1 million residents, buyers here in Hawaii. We used to get 10 million tourists. If we had gotten just 10% of them, that would be a 100% more buyers for locally made. The goal was 20 to 40%. Anyway, you get the idea. We now will have only 3 or 4 million tourists. If we can get, again, 20 to 30% of them, that's still a doubling of buyers. Number 3 is 1% of all government budgets, federal, state, and county budgets dedicated to small business, farmers, and in the case of Hawaii, Hawaiians, or in other places, indigenous. So 1% sounds small, but just here in this little state of Hawaii, that's $2 billion. A decade, nationally, that would be $700 billion over the course of a decade. So this kind of money dedicated, 1%. They're the golden goose that lays the golden egg. It's time to keep them fed. And now for, really, I think, I think that in the years to come we'll recognize how momentous this is. We're taking the consumers of the world and formalizing them as a consumers movement. So the consumers are the labor movement of the 21st century. And we are here to help better identify the extent of our power, both in what we've done and how that can be applied. So as an example, unions, they are imploding. They're only 13 million strong, about 10% of the workforce as compared to almost 30% just a couple decades ago. If they get three friends and family to join them, they've gone from 13 million to 60 million shoppers, literally just a matter of days, now unleashed on the markets. Of course, they would have immediate impact. We give the example of Democrats. There's 60 million of them. Democrats could make this happen in a matter of days. Trump has 60 million Twitter followers. He could make this happen literally in a matter of hours. Women, about 50 million of them go shopping every Saturday anyway, and double that on holidays. They carry a lot of power. 70% of all household spending at given times is done by women. And our favorite example is small business. So we used to have 30 million small businesses, all shut down. Of course, the Wall Street monopolies have now 100% of the market. And so if small business wanted to lash back at Wall Street, get three friends and family. Three friends and family times 30 million small business owners, that's 110 small buyers. So whatever demographic, these are just examples of the power that we have once we extend ourselves as the American shopper. The other big one that we want to introduce is a concept that it's a term that's been thrown around since the 60s and 70s, a little bit in the 80s, called economic democracy. We're all familiar with the concept. Every dollar's a vote. It's a vote that always, always counts. And we want to build on that, especially in a consumer-based economy. 70% of our consumption was, 70% of our $20 trillion economy as of 10 months ago was consumption-based. That means you as the consumer decides 70% of the time who gets that dollar. Another important consideration is that before there was unions, workers had no ability to push back against the capitalist or the employer. And there was 101 issues: low wages, no benefits, no overtime, no family leave, etc. And so they could try to negotiate these individually, but it wasn't very effective. And so communism was the pushback, saying, let's just tear it all down. And that was because there was no interface. Unions came along and they provided that interface where they could take all the different issues of the workers and negotiate them with the power of a unified labor. So as unions were to corporations of the last century, the consumer is to the global economy of today. And so just as all of the issues of the union workers was incorporated in simply starting that union, the bulk of our issues will automatically be attended to once we've come together as the consumers movement. So that's very exciting. So you see politicians, they're running after dozens of different issues that they say they're going to help. We're asking the politicians, please join us with this, because if you do this one thing, the bulk of all the other issues that they're running on will be taken care of. Know your impact as a consumer. India's multi-billion dollars tech industry, China's trillion-dollar manufacturing industry, the kingdoms of the Middle East that have all been redeveloped, all of that is from the American shopper. What's very interesting is communism lost its relevancy because of unions, and that is the kind of power that we can provide now. Oh, and our favorite example is the Black Lives Matter. So there's a chemistry, sort of like the founding principles and training of the Black Lives Matter term communism. So it's all about ripping down and stopping and, a sense of vengeance. And what we want to introduce to them is say, listen, just as we've gone to the unions and Democrats and Trump and women and saying, try your hand as a consumer, we want to do the same thing with the Black Lives Matter. If they were to do this, they would be able to cash in, if you will, they've gotten the country's attention. They've taken center stage politically. So one day a month we want bring 50 million Americans together to buy local American with different themes. How about this November? It's really just in a couple weeks. Let this, we're calling it the new Black American Friday. That first Friday dedicated to African American small business and the issues of African Americans. See if we can generate 25 to 50, maybe $100 billion in sales of African American small businesses. And the same again for donations to African American causes. Even Trump was talking about I believe it was $200 billion stimulus for African American causes and businesses. So if we can get 1/3 from buyers, 1/3 in donations, and 1/3 from government, the Black Lives Matter will have successfully closed $250 billion worth of justice, payback, if you will. Anyway, again, these are just examples of what we can do as the consumer. So, and then last but not least, a new context for Hawaii. Food is the new oil. Hawaii is the Saudi Arabia. If the supply chains continue to fray as they are, food will no longer just be the oil. It will in fact be the gold. And so we're saying, listen, Nestle's is doing $80 billion a year in food. All we need to do here in Hawaii is just $15 billion in order to replace the tourism that we lost. It's a very doable number. So the long and short of it is that we've seen any number of political isms over the centuries. We have capitalism, socialism, and communism. This is going to be the biggest, hottest, funnest new political party in history. Because while some people are workers, or some people are capitalists, or some people are socialists, most everybody is a consumer. And when we get to channel and celebrate and empower that side of ourselves, it will spread very quickly. This isn't just for America, but every country of the world should take one day out to celebrate their entrepreneurs and their artisans, their craftsmen and their small business and their farmers. So you can be a founding member, a founding father of this. Welcome to economic democracy. Welcome to the consumers movement of America and the world. And welcome to the American Shopping Party. Thank you for your time.